Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. Last Saturday marked the beginning of the MAG1 League, featuring some of the strongest players from the 501 and 201 region. Now, last Saturday I was competing alongside Sacco from the 501 region against none other than Flower Fairy and Measim, and two of us would make it through to the finals. The coming week there will be, I think, Apucci, Dillo, Red Hair, and B-Man competing. So if you want to see that, it'll be starting at 4 p.m. UTC over on the MAG1 Live channel, link down below. The way this format will work, I can briefly show it to you, is that there will be happening 3 best of 1s, which will determine the first winner, and then after that there will be 2 best of 3s to determine the second player to go through. So out of 4 players competing on a given day, 2 make it through, 2 get eliminated, and we'll see the 2 winners in the eventual finals for this format. Either way, let's get into these games. I'll be covering all of them in this video. Timestamps will be down below if you want to look at a specific game. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Alright, so the very first game here is going to be between Sacco and Flower Fairy, 2 of the very highest rated players we have in the game currently. And having a look at these packs, I mean, Fire Badger spec here looks alright if you want to go Stormcaller, and Flower Fairy going for a missile spec, Fang Stormcaller, fantastic for him. He's known to mostly play standard and expert at it, I would say. And yeah, picking up that new specialist. Sacco deciding to go for Stormcallers here as well, has been known to play more standard as of late, and taking notes, I believe, from his opponents. So let's see if the student here can beat the master. So, in this scenario, we're going to see, well, a pretty mirrored setup, as both players are starting with roughly the same units. The only difference being is that Flower Fairy has 1 more chaff back available to him, starting with those fangs, does purchase the 2 Arclights. Sacco, on the other hand, already has triple Arclight. And yeah, you can see that this is pretty much the exact same setup. It started out as so, but Sacco, noticing missile spec here, and I thought this was really clever when I saw this game happening live, spaces out his Stormcallers further to the edges than he normally would to prevent his opponent from getting too much value from those missile strikes that they'll get on round 2. So this way, if they want to hit a Stormcaller, they'll probably be able to, but they won't also hit one of those crawler packs. And yeah, Sacco here going for 2 crawlers. Interesting that he does leave 2 spacings behind the tower. Does place them horizontal. That way they don't all get pulled by a potential flank, which isn't all too common in standard v standard, I do have to say. And yeah, let's see how this round 1 goes. The Arclights, they're getting hit by some stray rockets from the Stormcallers. And because of the lack of chaff on Sacco's side, the Arclights are now getting targeted. They do provide good distraction though, almost as if they're a chaff back in and of themselves. And that means it's now going to come down to those Stormcaller engagements, and I think Sacco's Stormcallers were first to target Flower Fairies. And so this looks like it should be a Sacco win on round 1. It will be. Only 3 Stormcallers surviving though, so nothing too serious. Do keep in mind, Sacco does have 400 more starting hit points. Now sending Flower Fairy down to 4250. And we get unit reinforcements right away on round 2. Flower Fairy here, quick to pick the Wasps. Tarantula and Sabertooth not really that good in this scenario. There's Stormcallers involved. I mean, you're just adding targets to the board that really would struggle. And Wasp is high tempo here. It's annoying for both players to deal with, right? They don't really have a good counter for it. Now, the Mustangs were offered, so that was a consideration, but I know that a lot of players don't like playing Mustangs in Standard because the unit doesn't have that much range, right? It has only 95 and it can only go up to 135, which tends to be on the lower end of range that you'll see for standard units. I mean, Arclights sit at 93, but they do have access to the elite marksman, so they can get up to those like 150s, 160s throughout the game. Whereas with Mustang, it's 135 max, and that's all you're going to get, right? Not counting items, of course. Now, Sacco here is Fire Badger spec, going for a bit of an aggressive play. Using those Fire Badgers up front, putting the Wasps behind. The two Wasp packs do seem to avoid each other here, so it'll really be down to how that engagement goes and how many Wasps stay alive, because apart from the Fangs here on Flower Fairy's board, there is not much as regards anti-air for either player, so it's really just going to come down to which Wasp pack comes out ahead. I mean, the Fangs are not fantastic against level 2 Wasps, but they do help a little bit, and so a couple of Wasps here will already be dying, whilst for Flower Fairy, the right side is pushing in as well. Sacco will eventually get that debuff, kind of expected, considering the heavy investment there with the 2 free units. But now the question is, how well is this engagement going to go? The Wasps from Flower Fairy now turning their attention towards the tower. I think that debuff will actually mean that Sacco loses this turn. All of his Wasps decided to try and engage the opponent Wasps, while the rest of his units trying to go for tower. And yeah, that is just one lone Wasp left alive. And I don't think that'll be enough to get rid of this entire pack of level 2s. And so not a great round for Sacco at all, I have to say. Yeah, going for that proactive play, trying to get the tower debuff, being successful, but not managing to get those Wasps. And now Flower Fairy deciding to buy another Wasp pack, and it is Sacco who techs his Wasps with Jump Drive and moves them to the back of the map. Now keep in mind that because of this, he's already behind a tech right in the mirror. Like, Jump Drive does not help at all in the Wasp v Wasp fight, and as things are currently going, that's the only thing that's going to take out those Wasps. Sacco here taking the shield airdrop, same thing for Flower Fairy, does use his second missile, staggered them, and sadly here for Sacco, he guesses wrong, and so loses a Stormcaller yet again. Does range his arc lights, but with these Wasps being added, we really have to wonder, is this going to be enough or not? Wasp engagement happening about now, but Flower Fairy is retaliating. Okay, looks like Sacco does come out on ahead, has 5 level 2s left alive, and they can level. Right side not looking too bad. And we do have that shield available here, and with only 2 Wasps going for the tower, I think they'll be stuck on there forever. This might help to win the air engagement. Let's see how that goes. Yep, no problem at all. Only losing 1 Wasp, and you can see these 2 over here are just completely stuck. Oh, and Sacco's Wasps want even more greed, so they are going to go for that top tower and top shield. And with 30 seconds remaining, I think these level 2s will be able to get that tower with the help of the 2 Stormcallers. So that's some very good value, getting rid of the shield airdrop. And, well, with only 5 seconds, I don't think they'll quite manage to bridge the gap and get rid of the 2 Wasps, but I'd say that is a very good result there for Sacco. Now, round 4, immediate Amp Core pickup. Do notice how quickly Flower Fairy is picking these cards. He just knows immediately what cards that he likes, which one he doesn't. And, yeah, doesn't give it a second thought. Not interested in the Incendiary Bomb, not interested in the Smoke Bomb. Give him that Amp Core. Throws it onto the level 3 Wasps that he has. Sacco instead, though, going for the Incendiary. And yeah, we can now see that range has been teched on the Wasps for Flower Fairy, realizing that for now there is no dedicated anti-air from Sacco. He's being a bit disrespectful, I have to say, against these Wasps. And yeah, Flower Fairy wants to punish, goes for the range, knowing that the jump drive has already been teched. And we see 2 Stormcallers here purchased for Sacco. And I feel like in this game, he's probably slightly misjudging the situation. I mean, Stormcallers are always going to be very good for standard, but there's not that much for them to hit right now. There is like the 3 Fang packs that started, and then obviously you might hit the arc lights and you might win the mirror against the enemy Stormcallers, but that's about it. And the real threat so far has been these wasps from Flower Fairy. It already won him 1 round where Sacco actually should have won because of the proactive play. And yeah, with the jump drive tech, he probably should realize that this type of play with the range could be detrimental. The fire does end up landing, but because of the beacon in the back by Sacco, the arc lights will end up falling to these level 1 wasps, at least for the most part. We'll end up getting a tower debuff, but again, there is nothing on the right side to be able to capitalize on this 9-second debuff and get rid of those wasps. We get another split here for Sacco, some of them going to tower, some of them going to the wasps, but with the range advantage and that amp core, it doesn't matter whatsoever. And I mean, just look at the damage dealt. Almost up to 80k this game. Yep, crossing it now. 42k this very round and still going. Absolute MVP so far. Golden badge on every single stat. It is only a marginal win though. Wasps don't deal that much damage. And round 5, again, earliest possible round for the second rotation of 3 units. We get Overlord, Steel Ball, Wraith, and Tarantula. None of these really help against Wasp, I do have to say. So it's a little bit unfortunate. I think Sacco would have rather had something like the Mustangs, or perhaps would have liked to have picked those Mustangs that were available in that first rotation. Goes for the Steel Balls instead. Same thing here for Flower Fairy. And both of them using them exactly in the same spot. So we get a bit of an odd one here. And yeah, Sacco now going for the Mustangs, realizing that he'll need some sort of dedicated anti-wasp because he cannot win this mirror anymore because of the jump drive. And this is unexpected. We get standard Steel Ball Mustang versus standard Steel Ball Wasp. Steel Ball Mustang in standard used to be a thing over a year ago. It's kind of fallen off since because of nerfs and because of the new addition of units like Scorpion, etc. But it's kind of funny to see it make a bit of a resurgence, at least in this round. I don't know if the Steel Balls will stay, but kind of funny. And a nice beacon here down the middle, unlike this from Sacco, trying to make the most out of those level 3 wasps and hoping that they avoid those wasps from Flower Fairy and maybe can get into the sides and get debuffs. Mustangs here also doing a pretty good job against those Fangs, by the way, but they're getting stuck a little bit on the Steel Balls. There isn't that much DPS on the side of Sacco. And this is again where those wasps are just much, much better from Flower Fairy. A lot of people see this unit as somewhat of a chaff unit, and it can be in some scenarios as a level 1 against stuff like Phoenix or Marksman or Melter, especially with the shield tech that they have. But stat-wise, Wasp is more of a DPS dealer, and so when it gets the levels and it gets things like range and it gets the items, it can really pack a punch. And so if you look at these level 4 Wasps, I mean, they deal 1300 damage a piece, right? Every 1.4 seconds, and there's 12 of them. So they can quite easily dispatch of those tankier ground units, whereas that's not the case for anything on the side of Sacco. There is the Stormcallers, of course, but they don't really like hitting moving targets. At least not the ones that move at 16 meters a second, like the Crawlers and the Steel Balls. And so you can really see the difference here. I mean, we already have 2 level 3 packs, and we get another great item there. Laser Sight picked up for both players. The shield airdrop is back off cooldown. And sadly here, it looks like, again, Sacco is going to be misreading where that missile is going to be going. Flower Fairy perhaps kind of conditioning his opponent there by going left twice with the first 2 missiles. And then now just picking one of the middle ones. Sacco here going for range on the Stormcallers. Whereas we get Elite Marksman, excuse me, on the Arclights here from Flower Fairy. So already double teched, even though they're only level 1 for the most part. And yeah, more Mustangs added again. And this is very painful, right? Now you're playing standard Mustangs because you have to get rid of those Wasps. And that's just going to feed into these Arclights. Arclight Mustang, especially in these long range fights, ends up being an Arclight favored matchup because they have access to that Elite Marksman. And so as they level, they will start outranging the opponent's units. And I mean, look at how long it takes to get rid of those level 4 they're so tanky. Now, the Mustangs will level, though. As tanky as they are, these Wasps do have a lot of experience to give if they end up dying, and so the levels should help. But at the same time, if we hover over these Arclights, I mean, these ones are golden, and I imagine a lot of the other ones will be golden as well, ready to level up. And again, a single Wasp will survive, clean up the rest of Sacco's units, and it's a very close fought round yet again. Right? Flower Fairy here kind of slowly chipping away at Sacco's hit points. Round 7, we get Lightning Storm, we get Nuke, but neither player is interested, and both of them decide to skip. Yeah, we get, look at all those level ups. All of those newly added level 1 arcs instantly leveling up, and suddenly level 2 is starting to look scary, never mind when they will hit level 3. And the thing is as well, like, Arclights with Elite are not bad at all into Steel Balls when you get this many. Sacco deciding to purchase even more Arclights, so it's a bit of a Arclight carry type of game. And then where the mirror has ended is, again, this Wasp engagement, right? And it's cost Sacco, it's crazy, like, how much that round 2 decision, especially the round 3 decision, going for that proactive play and then wanting to retrieve the Wasps, so clicking Jump Drive, has allowed Flower Fairy, with the help of these items, to just get ahead in the matchup and click Range Enhancement. And the awkward bit here is kind of like, what do you do, right? I mean, you can go Mustang, but then you fall prey to carry Arclight, like in this situation, and it's very likely that Flower Fairy will be leveling more than Sacco because of that good matchup. You could try and go for like Fortress AA, but playing Fortress in Standard usually will simply lose to things like Melter, especially when you have to click AA, which means that all of your other techs like Range, or maybe you're running Elite even, are going to be that much more expensive. And we get a cheeky beacon from right to left there from Flower Fairy to try and avoid the Mustangs. And yeah, you can see that these Arclights are just feasting upon the Mustangs yet again. And the problem is that there's no frontline for them apart from those couple level 2 Steel Balls, and they fall pretty quickly. And with the Arclights of Sacco now also having Elite, it means the Arclights also stand behind his Mustangs, and so the front line is just pure chaff. And so round 7 here, a little bit more convincing, more units left alive. The late Wasps with the beacon arrive together with those Steel Balls, and that will send Sacco down to below 3k hit points as we enter round number 8. Electromagnetic Impact, pretty good item. Improved firepower control system, not bad either. Probably one of the best items for something like Wasp or Mustang. But both players deciding to go for that electromagnetic impact. Fire is back off cooldown. There's also a missile strike available yet again. And And yeah, the oil that was dropped here last turn looking kind of scary. I think that's what Sacco's trying to avoid. Probably expecting the incendiary from his opponent on the Stormcallers to set this on fire. That is what's going to happen, but because of that, he cannot use his beacon yet again to try and avoid that missile. So will he be shielding is the question. Goes for shielded fangs. A little bit of a dodgy choice, but does put them all the way in the back, so maybe they can avoid the fire. And third tech coming out on the arc lights of Measim. Flower Fairy as well. Measim will be playing next game. With EMP on the arc lights being teched, so helping in that mirror matchup. Sacco also deciding to go for Incendiary Bomb, so we'll have a lot of fire dropping. Does end up shielding, so I think these should survive. But the EMP will land, and I'm not sure if this EMP from Sacco will be landing. The same beacon comes out from Flower Fairy. Hits about half of the units, but that means that they'll get slowed, and this does eventually run out. The EMP doesn't last the entire turn. And so I think these will just recover. What will not recover, however, is these poor arc lights in the middle. Getting EMP'd. Now falling prey to these arc lights from Flower Fairy. They're all level 3, and I think we might even see some level 4s by next turn. Tara debuff comes through. Right side doesn't look too bad for Sacco, however. And we do have a couple Mustangs left alive to try and contest the Wasps there, but at level 5 with the Amp Core, they are very, very tanky. Debuff does come through, but I mean, look at that. Even during debuff, 2 Mustangs barely able to take out 1 level 5 Wasp. And so again, it's going to be an end of turn that we've seen many times this game, it feels like. With Flower Fairy taking the win and again chipping away at those hit points. Round 9, we get more free units. Sacco takes the Sabertooth, and we immediately hear the cell sound as the Sabertooth gets turned into a Saber Cash, as we like to call them sometimes. Flower Fairy going a bit of a different route, opting to go for the Sandworms there, double level 1. And Sacco using the resources that he gained to get into War Factory now. War Factory is a very good unit against Sandworm, so I think he'll be pretty happy about that matchup. And Sacco also opting to go for Missile Interceptor there, trying to intercept some of these Stormcallers, making sure that not all of the fire lands. And, I mean, look at this. You cannot make this up, can you? Flower Fairy is just living inside of Sacco's head this game. We get the shield airdrop back off cooldown, and again the 50-50 seems to go the wrong way. No money left for a 4th shield, so the Stormcallers here will again fall prey to the missile. Oh! No, it gets used over there anyway. Seemed like Flower Fairy was perhaps trying to think of a different spot to put it in, but doesn't doubt his initial decision. And it'll pay off. That's at least one Stormcaller gone. Crawlers on the flank here as well to distract and make sure that some of the fire lands, which will kill at least part of these Crawlers. Keep in mind this War Factory has steel ball production, does not have efficient maintenance, so it will cost 200 a turn per War Factory to keep this on the field. Worms were given armor, great tech against things like Mustang, and it will be very successful on this side where there are no War Factories. Still, it seems like the Arc Lights are doing pretty good damage, or maybe the Stormcallers are. But yeah, left side crumbling. Those Wasps with the laser sights, making sure that 9 seconds of debuff comes Sacco's way, and because of that, I mean, look at that firing ray. Arc Lights just demolishing the War Factory during the debuff. And yeah, now, I mean, look at all these golden arcs. Level 4s across the board. Sandworm's also getting a good amount of experience, and yeah, suddenly it's no longer chipping away at hit points. That is straight up more than 1,000 damage going Sacco's way, sending him down to 650. Storm available, both players instantly pick it up. Oil also purchased there from for Sacco. And Flower Fairy going for the replicate on his sandworms, noticing that there are some spots here on the board where War Factory cannot reach. And yeah, Sacco trying to even things out, adds another factory to the left side of the board, but the middle here might still struggle. We'll have to see how this turns out. We get 4 bubbles, obviously, because we have to protect the Mustangs for Sacco. We get bubbles on the side of Flower Fairy as well, but he's a little bit more economical with it. Does kind of beacon into the storm, but I think with how far away these units are, the storm will already have subsided. We get another tech, range, on War Factory as the second tech. Both players do have temp range. Can still loan. Whoa, and we get a third tech even. We now get mechanical division and the loan coming out from Flower Fairy. So trying to go for the gut shot here. Just hoping that he can get as much larvae on the board. Storm did manage to protect, or rather, the shields managed to protect from the storm on Sacco's side. Does manage to keep his Mustangs alive for the most part. One Wasp Pack on the left has been dealt with, and now the Sandworms are starting to emerge, creating some of those larves. War Factories are eating them up quite nicely, though. But now, the EMP from the Arclights stopping the range on the War Factory, stopping the steel ball production, crucially. Will it be enough? War Factory on the right side now, still managing to get rid of those pesky Arclights, kind of recovering, starting to produce a little bit more steel balls before it gets hit in the side by the Arclights from the left. Tower debuff coming through here from Flower Fairy's units, and there's still a worm left alive. I didn't see that. If that stays alive alongside the Wasps and the Arclights, I think that'll just be game. Arclights absolutely chewing through that War Factory during the debuff. And yeah, with only a couple Mustangs remaining, that might just be game. And it will be. Minus 115. Flower Fairy with a very clean game. It took a while, but didn't drop many rounds. I think he only dropped like round number 2 or 3. And that was it. Still sitting at 4,100 hit points. Very comfortable in this matchup. And I think the crucial moment here was the round 2 free units. I think a correct pick for both players. Going Wasp there is completely fine. But Flower Fairy, a bit more greedy. Not going for a proactive play like Sacco did. Didn't have to take the jump drive. And then just said, well, you're behind in this mirror. So I'm happily going to tech range. I'm going to take those items and have you commit to a matchup that in this long range scenario is really bad for you, right? Having to go for those Mustangs against the Arclights, you can just see the levels on these guys compared to Sacco's. And yeah, that was all she wrote. Good use of the beacon as well. Fantastic game right there. And that is game number 1 going the way of Flower Fairy. So let's head over to game number 2, which will feature myself up against Measim. Alright, so game number 2 here, best of 1. Measim versus me. Now, for myself, I was kind of eyeing the missile spec there, but I know that Measim likes to play standard, and I don't consider myself the best standard player, or at least I really dislike playing mirrors. Because I find it hard to know what's going on. So instead, I here decided to pick the speed specialist with spiders and crawlers, because I thought maybe I can catch Measim a little bit off guard, and I think I can create more opportunities by creating a bit of an imbalance on the board. Now, Measim does end up going for Stormcaller with Arclights, purchases 2 crawlers, very similar setup to what we saw from Sacco there last game. I decide to play asymmetrically on the right side, adding a crawler in the middle here to try and pull as many units as I can, at least preventing the crawlers from getting to my tower and debuffing me at a bad time for me. I am spacing the tarantulas a little bit here, and I think here, the way that I've positioned, I am expecting the Stormcallers to be around tower height, so I believe I should be fine, and these spiders should not get insta-locked by the Stormcallers. Oh, never mind. I doubt myself a little bit there, so I do end up putting the crawlers in the middle. I'm not sure this was necessary, but better to play it safe than sorry. Going for 5 crawlers, so 2 more on round 1. This will allow me to position the tarantulas a little bit further forward, but it'll make it a little bit more awkward to perhaps make use of the 2 squares I'll get when the line moves up on round 2. Bit of an awkward engagement here. It looks like 3 of those storms, excuse me, are locked onto my tarantula. Luckily for me, the outside crawlers managed to get rid of it, and so this will stay alive and get the debuff. Middle tarantula is doing just fine, and even though Stormcaller is usually a good matchup into tarantula, with the amount of crawlers I had, it looks like I'll be able to overpower my opponent and get a win here on round 1. Even better, it looks like I'll keep my 2 tarantulas alive. Both of them getting a good amount of experience as well. Getting those early level ups is very nice. I didn't talk about this, but I am... no, I'm not. Sorry. I'm not a quick supply. That was the other pack that was available. Quick supply I also really like with tarantulas because it does give that option to get an early level without sacrificing deployments or get an early tech, which I think benefits tarantulas a lot. But here the speed is very nice as well. Allows me to dodge some of the missiles and get within my opponent's face that little bit quicker. Round 2, I decided to go for a wasp play as well as a shallow crawler flank. Now the reason I did this is because whenever you play like this, or whenever I play like this, it's quite common for my opponents to try and make a cheese happen. In this scenario, it works out really well for me because my opponent goes for Stormcallers on the line to try and get my left tower. But with the wasps and the crawlers there, I managed to distract all of those storms, get rid of it, and then get a tower debuff myself. Even better, my opponent doesn't have any anti-air to speak of, so that is a fantastic round for me. Tarantulas there will die, but you can see that one of them already leveled up. And here, by the way, both of us took the redeployment. I think a big reason why we did that. My opponent there going for another Arclight and a Stormcaller on turn 2. I guess trying to prove that this is a pretty good counter. But he will need something else, some sort of front line or whatever it is. Opponent already going for Melter on round 3. Is a giant spec and takes Assault Melting Point from the cards. Intensive training available as well. Photon Emission, not bad at all. Could pick that up. I think skipping here is completely fine as well. Intensive can be expensive to immediately make use of. So, okay, I decide to skip. I think that's fine. Just play the greedy game. Already have a level here and I can do more stuff on the left side as well. Opponent going for a cheeky redeploy with the Stormcallers on the line. Now going for my flank. And I actually was expecting this, or I thought it was a possibility because, again, the redeploy, because I saw the Stormcallers on the line on turn 2. The only other play that would be available to him to try and cheese was something like this. And so what you'll see me do here is get the level on the Tarantula, start working on that left side. I did add those shallow flank crawlers to potentially add another Tarantula and play on the left tower as well. And here you'll see me add crawlers to that flank in the back to have some late chaff. I actually decided to move my Tarantula onto the right side and play over there instead. And so yeah, this will be working out just fine for me. Crawlers will be able to get rid of those Stormcallers. And I decided to play on the right side because I was kind of expecting my opponent to maybe overcommit onto the left. But in this case, he did not do that at all. Kind of expecting the jump drive, I guess. Luckily for me, the late crawlers, the level 2s here, are managing to get in, get a tower debuff, and so this melting point won't really be doing all that much. And if we're talking matchups, I don't think this is that great of a matchup for my opponent. I don't think Melter is necessarily that good into Tarantula. It's much easier for me to get a lot of Tarantulas out, right? They're half the cost, and Spider Mine especially can be very annoying for a Melter to deal with. So here we're chasing the final crawler around the map, but I get another good round in. Tarantula not leveling though, that's a little bit sad. Round 4, we knew that this was coming because, well, it was the final round that we could get for units for the first rotation. Opponent here opting to go for double blue steel ball. I decided to go for Farseer. Marksman was a consideration as well, but I don't like it as much as it tends to... It's a pretty slow unit, so it doesn't really fit the aggro playstyle as much. And Farseer is just so versatile and extremely powerful at level 3. Just gives me a little bit more anti-air because, you know, all I have is one Wasp pack, so with the Farseer I should be able to get more things done. And now I do decide to move onto the left side. Again, I do have that redeployment, so I move my level 2 Tarantula from that oil spill to the left so that it doesn't have to run through it. And this turn I can just play for the debuff. Also, I do decide to level up these crawlers because all my opponent has is level 1 and level 2 arc lights. So leveling this is still worth it. Going for some late fangs here as well, making sure I do protect my flanks adequately, adding some fangs over here to protect my Tarantula from getting insta-locked. And my opponent not adding anything. I was a little bit surprised about this. Also, do keep in mind I am taking the bonus speed from the left tower. As, well, this benefits the crawlers, it benefits the Tarantulas, it works great with the 3 movement speed I already have from Speed Specialist. It also allows me to move into the right side after getting the debuff faster. Which again also adds to the value I'm going to get from that 9 seconds debuff. And so despite getting or having the oil for 2 turns, I managed to make good use of redeployment, and I still end up winning both of the rounds from the looks of it. A couple crawlers going for my tower here, but I think we should be fine. I say that. Debuff here could come in at a horrible timing. It is a little bit bad. And the crawlers are going for the other tower as well, so we'll have to chase those all around the map. Luckily, there's still enough wasps left alive to distract this melting point, and so we recover from the debuff. And all we have to do now is chase down those crawlers. I think they'll just be coming to us. And there we go. Farseer doing an absolute number that turn. 84,000 damage. As is kind of normal for Farseer, I want to say. That unit usually performs exceptionally well the turn it comes out. At least in the early to mid turns. And now on round 5 I take my first tech. Decide to go for Spider Mines because my opponent doesn't really have that much chaff. So there's no need to go for something like HE. And range would have been good as well, but I really like the Spider Mines here to be able to get rid of those steel balls a little bit quicker. And also to distract the arc lights and the melting points. Opponent here though just wants to double down on the melting point arc lights idea with storm callers, so buys or moves the melting point all the way to the back and levels his other tower to level 3, so just does not want to try and defend that whatsoever. I do end up losing the right side quite handily, but as my opponent has set this on fire, he does lose all of his chaff. You can see the crawlers there burning up, and so we're still moving in from the left side. I tried to go for a cheeky flank, but yeah, with the level 3 tower, it still took a while to kill that. But the nice thing here about this matchup is that I'm going to keep spawning mines. There's no limit to spawning mines, unlike with other spawn techs. And so it doesn't matter too much that I spend a little bit more time on the left side trying to take down that level tower, because I will just keep spawning, right? Those units throughout the match and create more chaff for my opponent to deal with once I do make a move onto the other side of the battlefield. And so another round here going my way. So far, it's been a clean game. Steel ball production line shows up, picked up from my opponent. Nice item for those melting points. Portable shield here looks pretty good as well, but against melting points, I'm not sure how strong it is. Could be a good item for my opponent as well, by the way, but didn't, of course, had to make a decision. Shield airdrop is not bad either. And here my opponent decides to go for anti-air wasps. Has had enough of my shenanigans by the looks of it. So decides to just buy wasps himself and give them anti-air. But here the thing is, I already have a Farseer, so I'm not too scared of this type of play. Also, the wasps are only level 1, so outside of being an okay air counter, they're not really going to be doing all that much damage to my leveled units on the ground. And here I just decide to elite recruit more tarantulas. I also decide to loan so that I can afford the range tech. And yeah, now I'm just doubling down on the right side after seeing the tower level. I move the Farseer to the right side and I just leave these tarantulas here to deal with that tower. They should eventually be able to get it, especially with the spider mines. And I also move the wasps here to the back to try and avoid a potential debuff because, well, I don't have any anti-air defense here, so a Phoenix flank or something could be a play for my opponent. Don't want that to happen. Tarantula in the middle here is absolutely eating through my opponent's chaff. The Arclight gets taken out. The Fangs get taken out. Wasps are trying to fight as much as they can, but the way that he positioned, he actually did not guess correctly where my wasps would go. And so it's just going to be the Farseer in this case, clearing up those wasps. And look at how many things are left alive. That is 6 spiders, as well as a Farseer. And that means Measim on round 7 is down to 120 hit points. We do get free units, again, latest possible. So we went from earliest possible in Sacco and Flower Fairy's game to latest possible in our game. Double Typhoon pickup for Measim. Phantom Ray here is available for me. Not bad, I think. Could provide good air coverage, but it is a pretty bad unit against Wasp for the most part, so even though it is level 3. I do decide to pick it up. Not sure about that play. Maybe something like Sledge would have been better. I think something like Sledge with armor could have been good. It's very good against things like the low-level storms. It's good against the melting points, good against the steel balls, good against the typhoon as well. The only problem is that they are a bit slow, so they might not be able to keep up with the whole army moving forward. And yeah, okay, I just take the Phantom Rays, sell one of them, take it for the money, and utilize one of them in the back. I decide to purchase 2 more Farseer there at level 2. I also decide to take Electromagnetic Explosion to try and disable as many attacks as possible. If I can disable the range on the melting points, that's a win for me, I would say. Tower on the left here is still level 3. More Wasps have been added, and I don't have a Farseer on that side, so a little bit awkward. And this time around, will we get debuff? We will. Do have a couple mines running in. Those will be able to deal good damage to the melter, but the right side is collapsing after that oil drop. And even with the EMP there, looks a little bit dire. So Measim striking back does not give up on the brink of defeat. And suddenly I go down to sub 3k there in one turn. So I can't afford to lose many of these rounds because Melters do hurt if they stay alive. Round 8. Measim deciding to go for the Acid Blast this turn. Now I do have access to the shield airdrop this turn. And luckily for me, I managed to guess correctly by the looks of it, because otherwise the acid would have been dropped inside of that oil slick, which would not have been a very pleasant thing, I believe. And Measim going all out this time around, diverging from his Melter gameplay, now going for a War Factory with Photon Coating in front of my units. Very bold move. I decided to buy 2 more Farseer and try to play a little bit more on the left side, also making sure that I can deal with those wasps that were added last turn. I sell out of my Phantom Ray, and I get a 3rd tech on my Tarantulas, which is going to be Mech Rage, giving them 4 more move speed, and also reducing their attack interval by 50%. Let's see how this goes. I think EMP here, by the way, would not have been that bad of a tech for my opponent. EMP Arclight tends to do much better against Tarantula than I initially thought. Getting rid of those techs on them really hurts. And I mean, even though this is a big guy, the War Factory is just kind of melting from the looks of it. We are also making good progress on the left side, and now we get debuff, which should allow us to get rid of that War Factory, and we will. Farseers are now going to get rid of the wasps for us, and the left side of the board is now moving in as we surround the enemy melters. They are doing a pretty decent job, but they're now getting distracted by the surviving crawlers from the left. We get debuff, and that is a 9-second debuff as that tower was not leveled. And so the remaining spiders and Farseers will be able to finally close out the game, and so I win my best of 1. And this means that the next game that I'll be playing will be against the winner of that first game, against none other than Flower Fairy. Alright, so game 3, best of 1. The winner of this will be going through to the finals of the MAG1 League. Looking at these packs, Missile Spec looks pretty decent. Sabertooth Spec looks good as well. My opponent, Flower Fairy, going for his very his favorite pack, going for the Stormcaller pack with some Arclights. Here again, I'm going to decide to play aggressive because I don't think I stand a chance in Standard. So it's a bit of a similar situation as with Measim. I'd rather try and create a bit of imbalance on the board. Now, seeing the Stormcallers here, I was willing to try a little bit of symmetrical aggro, trying to prove that I have an advantage with the Steel Balls against the Stormcallers. I have the Crawlers behind because I don't mind the opponent's Arclights locking onto the Steel Balls. That way, at least my Crawlers should survive a little bit longer. I do pick up 2 Arcs, and here it's pretty crucial that I position correctly because I don't want these to get insta-locked by the Stormcallers. I think I'm 3 squares away from the Steel Balls in this scenario. And yeah, I'm just playing for the Steel Balls to get in front on time and to make sure that this Arclight does survive, which looks like will be successful just about. You can see that most of these rockets are missing their mark. On the left side, though, more Crawlers have died, sadly. And even though I do have the Arclight, it still takes us a pretty good amount of time to get in. Left side is just struggling so much more because of that Arclight helping out my opponent. And so, yeah, left side not successful. Right side getting in easily, though. Well, relatively easily, I should say. We can now speed up the process as one of my Steel Balls splits off to try and fight the Arclight. I don't think it'll be successful in doing so. We do try and get the debuff, but it's not going to be quite successful either. And so round 1 here actually goes over to Flower Fairy. Round 2, nothing here looks too fantastic, so I pretty quickly just decide to skip. My opponent does the same. I do manage to pick up a level, though, on my Steel Balls, so I decide to go for that. And then I do have my Sabertooth available as well. Now, again, I did talk about this last game. People really like this jump drive wasp thing. It's been a play, I feel, for like the past 3 months or so. Jump drive wasp is just incredibly annoying to deal with. I probably should have played around this. It was a play I was considering, but I mean, I didn't really know like where it was going to come through. Like it can come through the middle, it can come through this flank, it can come through that flank. So it's a lot of resources to try and avoid all of it. Instead, I decided to just kind of call the bluff and try and play for a strong attack on the right side. I add a crawler to the flank here, which will at least prevent this missile that Flower Fairy went for. But yeah, sadly here with the jump drive wasp, I will lose my tower. Sabertooth here doing a decent job though, managing to get rid of one Arclight at least. My Arclight though sadly locks onto the opponent's Arclight, so we get a bit of an awkward situation where we have my Sabertooth shooting at the chaff and my Arclight shooting at the single target. Steel balls are managing to get in, but I don't have any anti-air left. I only had one Fang pack there all the way in the front. And so even though the steel balls are doing fine, I am going to lose that turn. And I think in hindsight, I probably should have just gone for 2 late Fangs, but you know, especially with a turn like this where my opponent knows that the level 2 steel balls are going to be hard to kill, it makes a lot of sense for him to try and go for a cheese play so that he can win the round. Now round 3, we get Farseer, Typhoon, Wraith, and Sandworm. Very good units here on round 3. Very strong units at level 2. I decided to go for the Typhoon because it's a good matchup together with the Steel Balls for the most part. But it does mean that it's a little bit harder for me to deal with these Wasps, I think. Now, obviously, Typhoon is pretty good against Wasps, but it's not as fast of a unit like Farseer. So, whereas I could play Farseer kind of in the back here to defend the flanks and then join the rest of the army, it's not as nice to do that with Typhoon because it'll take much longer for it to join up with the rest of the field. And so here I decide to double down on the right side. I add my level 2 Typhoon next to my level 2 Steel Balls. I add another Typhoon there behind my Crawlers, the idea being that I'll eventually go for Barrier. And I just put 2 missiles on top of my towers, and hopefully that will allow me to kill the Wasps if he tries to go for another cheese play. Instead though, he puts them on the left side. And so let's see how this shapes up. It looks like we can't quite get rid of all of the Crawlers, and so I think the Crawlers will be tanking this missile instead. Which means that, yeah, the Wasps are still alive, sadly. We do manage to kind of get in on the right side, but the debuff comes in at another horrible timing there. Right when we were about to kill this Typhoon. And so it looks like another good round. And also, like, what is going on there? One Wasp sits in front of the other pack, so I still don't kill this pesky pack of jump drive Wasps. And I lose 2 missiles in the process. I mean, this is a horrible start of the game, and I'm just losing my mind and the game so far to these jump drive Wasps. Very annoying to deal with. I get another good item there with the portable shield. Decide to put it onto the steel balls. My opponent's going for oil. Decide to put another Typhoon down. Add another Crawler to the mix. Level my tower to level 2. And yeah, play for the right side here. Now, again, bit of a hindsight thing maybe. I could try and play for the left side. I probably should respect these Wasps a bit more, but it feels like I'm not necessarily winning this side of the board that convincingly. And so I want to try and make sure that I do that, whereas if I put too much stuff in the back, then I'm not really playing as much aggro anymore, and it's, you know, I'm taking away from the power of my front line. Opponent here selling out of his Stormcallers, by the way. An opponent just adding more chaff. Yeah, oil here is going to be quite painful for me, slowing down my units by a lot. And also opponent deciding to go for the portable shield on the level 2 Typhoons. This is a very powerful unit with items as well. Would have been a decent consideration for me. And that Marksman is just doing so much damage, locking onto my steel balls. And then again, these wasps end up going for my level tower, and that's still going to be a 7-second debuff. And then after they're done with that, they're going to head over to my other tower, which is going to give 9 seconds of debuff. Will we be able to get rid of that Typhoon? It looks like the answer again will be no. And so I am getting absolutely destroyed here by the jump drive wasps. As my opponent is actually holding with not that many units at all. It's only a Stormcaller pack, a Marksman, and a Typhoon. For the most part. But yeah, these debuffs are just not coming in at the right time. And so I should probably like add a late Typhoon here, I think is what I should have done. I do add more Typhoons, but instead I go and double down to try and get a debuff on the left side. And yeah, now my opponent notices that the backside here is still open, as I didn't add anything back there. And so if I don't do anything to this, it seems my opponent is just guessing correctly every single time, leaving the wasps there twice, and then when I do go and react to it, finds the one thing that I haven't been defending. And here, again, buying 2 Typhoons is expensive, getting the barrier tech on them is also expensive, and so I run out of money and deployments to be able to deal with this, and it looks like I'm going to get debuffed yet again. And here I decide to put something on the flank. I'm gonna be honest, I really didn't like this play at all. I didn't really know what to do, I guess. I was a bit, like, taken off guard by how insane the wasps were being, and how I was losing these rounds, which I thought the right side looked much better for me. But now my opponent has bought enough time to be able to get money to buy these Scorpions instantly with double shot. And so it's another unmitigated disaster there. Instant debuff. And yeah, this is painful to watch. Especially because it's me. I feel like there was a lot here I could have done. Like, this game feels very winnable, or at least up to now there were a lot of rounds I could have very easily won, and not taken as much damage. Because what I'm building towards here is obviously going to be both Typhoon. That is kind of the usual progress of this type of thing, right? Especially if the opponent goes for things like Scorpions, then boats become very, very nice indeed. But we don't get it here. No free units. I was really hoping as well to get free units, but we don't, which is really bad for me because I am within killing distance. And so this time around, you'll see me sell out of my steel balls because against the double shot Scorpions, they're not doing much at all. And I do take efficient giant manufacturing because my idea here is just going to be, I'm going to be spamming boats. And yeah, you're going to see the awkward bit here, right? I don't really know where to put my boats because I was trying to play 2 boards at the same time. Whereas what I should have been doing is just add 1 Typhoon late to try and deal with wasps from either the flank or arriving here from the front. And then maybe add something here in the back, like a Fang pack or something along those lines to be able to deal with the wasps that could arrive there. But instead, I now have like 2 Typhoons here, which will very easily get dealt with by these Scorpions my opponent added. By the way, I also pick up photon coating there on one of the Typhoons, and I decide to put the portable shield on one of the Typhoons as well. Should allow them to survive a little bit longer. I also add some crawlers into the flank here to distract the Scorpion. Make sure that the first shot doesn't go into the Typhoon barrier. And I get overload on my Overlords. My opponent, though, goes for a very cheeky play with the Wasps down the middle this time. But here, when I saw this, I was like, okay, clever play, but surely I'm going to be fine, right? Right? And nope. 2 Wasps there survive, even though it kind of looked like they were all going to be close enough together. And yet again, I lose a tower to the pesky jump drive Wasps. And the thing is here, because of the debuff, I lose, but I'm pretty sure I would have won this round. And I think I could have even won the game still if I just didn't get debuffed there. Because my opponent only had 1 marksman. And so with the double boats and the fact that I did pick up efficient giant manufacturing, I think I could have easily kind of steamrolled my opponents by this stage because of how powerful Typhoon boat is. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be. I was a bit annoyed after this game, as you could perhaps imagine with how many rounds I just lost to a single unit with a 50 cost tech. But, you know, it was very well played by my opponent. He managed to find the right angles to debuff me and punish me for playing aggro and not having enough defense in the back. I didn't play this good at all. I really thought this was a bad decision by me, going for the Typhoons onto the left when I was already down on tempo. I should have just added 1 in the back and then either leveled this tower and then maybe add like a Fang or something along those lines would have been better. And then I could really try and just fully focus on one side and punish my opponent for going for something like a heavy ground-based comp, right? With Scorpions, which boats tend to do very well against. Either way, that means that Flower Fairy is straight through to the finals, and what will remain now is the 2 best of 3s. So there's 1 best of 3 now between Sacco and Measim, who both lost their first game, and then there will be a best of 3 afterwards, with me against the winner of that game or that match to determine the final finalist. Alright, after narrating for about an hour, I do think I'll be splitting up these videos. Again, if you'd like what you saw so far, please leave a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to stay up to date with my latest videos and know when part 2 is coming out. It should be quite soon. If you want to see the day 2 of the MAG1 League, that'll be happening this Saturday at 3 PM UTC. Link down below to that channel. Yeah, let me know what you thought of these games. Do you like this format? Is it exciting? Have you watched some of these games live? Put it all down below. And with that being said, take care, guys, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.